Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mr. and Lady, welcome to Kinetic Aesthetic. I am your host, Jerm, and this is another edition of Sports Talk. Now, this week we have a couple of things I want to talk about, but it's not going to be too long. I have to, talk a little bit of shit to some Kobe stans. I have to talk about this World Baseball Classic, and then I just want to touch on a little bit the Vikings, they might have signed somebody, and it's got some people saying some crazy things about how this division is going to go. And I got to make things perfectly clear on how Kyler Murray may be a lot of things, but he is not a franchise savior. So I'm going to just not go do anything else with the intro right there. I'm going to make it short and cut it off right here. So go get some food, go get some drink, go prop your feet up somewhere and get comfortable, because Kinetic Aesthetic is going to be coming right back at you, and this sports talk is going to be underway very soon. All right, everybody. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, who aren't a big fan of the game, the World Baseball Classic is going on right now. That is, of course, the international game that goes on between the best players from the USA and all the other countries. And it's just been a very interesting little display. We're already down to our top 4 teams as I record this. Well, 3. We had Dominican Republic, we had the United States, we have Venezuela, and we have Italy. Now, if I'm not mistaken, currently right now as I'm recording this, Venezuela and Italy are playing. The Dominican Republic and the United States played their game last night. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about that USA and Dominican game, because it's highlighted not only just one crazy thing that I have found about baseball, but 2 crazy things. Now, the first one is how they are just now implementing a ball strike system where you can challenge these calls. And it was so relevant to this game because the game ended on a very, very controversial, I have not seen it myself, so I can't really say if it was accurate or not, just very disputable ball call that got called. It was called a strike when it should have been a ball, and it was like a very below the zone from what I read. And it was the type of thing to where the crowd immediately booed. The hitter literally came out and said he 100% knew it was a ball when it was thrown. And it was just it was like taking the air out of a balloon, just type of ending to a game. Now, the Dominican Republic has been the crowd favorite since this whole World Baseball Classic has popped off. They've hit the most home runs. They've got the most charismatic players, Juan Soto being leading the charge and everything. And not only was it, fans just wanted to see the guys that were being the most exciting stay in, but they're just the most fun. They're the most fun. They're they're most entertaining. So them losing, especially losing like that, pissed a lot of people off. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention was just how, and this is something that I've already talked about in basketball, the United States is very clearly losing its athletic edge in a lot of the sports that we call our own. In baseball, in basketball, we are being overtaken. And I honestly think it goes without saying that if football continues to try to expand its global reach, if we start having football played in other countries, American football, I should say, you can expect that we're going to start getting a lot of superior athletes from these European countries. And I think that has a lot to do with not just the way our culture is just being run and everything, but just the health, the nutrition, all of that. With all of the junk food and the shitty diet stuff that goes on in America, how you have to be a fucking millionaire just to maintain that type of healthy food lifestyle, it is becoming more and more just non-accessible unless you're in a different country where they actually have their shit right to be able to have the physique, to have the type of athletic body that you need to succeed in these sports. I don't know if that's ever going to change. I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon, just based off the way things are run, just based off of what we are holding important. As long as capitalism is winning over everything else, we're not going to have healthy people that are going to give us the type of athletics that we want. But to get more into the actual baseball classic itself, it's just been very interesting to me just watching this happen. It's been happening since I was a young kid. I remember just watching all these different little segments on ESPN about how all these baseball players they're getting right now are coming from these South American countries, from Latin America. And it is not surprising that now the people winning these World Baseball Classics, winning all of these, winning the Olympics, everything, you're not even going to be going into as favorites anymore. Yes, the USA, as of this recording, going into the final, they're going to be playing Italy or Venezuela. I don't know if I should expect them to be the favorites. If they're having to win over the Dominican Republic by getting lucky based off blown calls, I don't know if that necessarily, because it's like Juan Soto said. He went out there and he told the press this morning, the best baseball team is in the Dominican Republic. And you know what? Just based off the stats, based off the way everything was going, I don't know if he's wrong. They definitely have a right to lay claim to the title, especially based off the way they lost. And my main point is, I'm not trying to say the USA is just not going to be in the running anymore, but we're no longer the far and away best country when it comes to the sports that we originate. And that's beautiful in a sense, but in a sense, it's sad. In a sense, it just further highlights to me how far we've fallen, and just how I don't want to blame it on the people. I like to just more so place it at the blame of our leaders, but we're just losing our luster. And this World Baseball Classic is just another example of that. Free agency has pretty much, the big names have all been wrapped up. There's not much left. The last big domino to fall was Kyler Murray, and he signed with the Vikings. Now, this, considering it was an NFC North signing going to the rival Minnesota Vikings, I definitely have a lot of thoughts on it. This isn't the type of signing that I think is going to make the division up for grabs, like I've seen a lot of people come out and say, but it definitely makes everything a lot more interesting. Going into this upcoming season, before they had signed him, Minnesota was clearly the odd team out. The rest of the teams in the division, Green Bay, Chicago, of course, and Detroit, all three have established head coaches who deserve some respect, and all three have a quarterback who, regardless of whether you feel they are top 10 or top 5 or anything like that, all of them are at least top 15. All of them are comfortably a good starting quarterback. You can say what you want about Jared Goff not being, exciting or flashy, but he has consistently been putting up great numbers. Jordan Love has shown that he may not be Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre in terms of being a Hall of Fame level talent, but he is definitely a guy, and more than a guy. So Minnesota, they have a coach, but going in, and they got Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1 still in this league. But they did not have a good enough quarterback. J.J. McCarthy has shown nothing. He's given no indication that he was really going to make that type of a leap. So that was their clear-cut weak link. What you do when you go out and get a guy like Kyler Murray, who has been a Pro Bowl level quarterback in this league, you go out there and you just raise your floor. Now, when I look at the Vikings, when I think about them as a team, they're dangerous. They're scary, and they have the potential to just be, at the very least, a team that is going to upset you and is going to ruin your plans late in the season. Kyler Murray is not the biggest guy. He's not tall, obviously, and he's not even necessarily the most durable quarterback. But if they're able to maximize his talent, if Kevin O'Connell is able to get the most out of him, you can expect this Vikings team to be making some noise and to, at the very least, be a wild card team. This could be a season where every team in the NFC North makes the playoffs if they don't all beat each other up. I really already was a fan of the defense with Brian Flores, a guy who should be a head coach but is just stuck at the defensive coordinator spot because of his whole lawsuit with the league. And so you take that in, you combine that type of a defense, and then you've got a quarterback on offense who can not be a world breaker, but can get them some points on the board, who can hold down the ship, and who can be steady. And I think that they have a recipe for some success. Looking at it all the way, I still don't think this is a better team than Green Bay. I don't think this is a better team than Chicago. I could maybe, and this is just maybe, see them taking a step above Detroit, just because Detroit would end up taking a step back. Maybe Green Bay, the way things have been going, especially those late 2 collapses against Chicago, maybe that bleeds into next year for Green Bay and things sort of fall more off the rails. but I just don't see any scenario where Minnesota is going to be, just with this addition, being able to become the number one team in the division. I'll say that. So it does make things interesting. It does give me a little pause for concern. Those Minnesota games are already sort of difficult for us. They're not easy no matter what. So this is going to make those games just, in a sense, as of right now, a bit of a toss-up. But I still have a lot of faith in Chicago. Ben Johnson is still Ben Johnson. Caleb is going to improve. So I have no hesitancy in saying that Chicago is still going to be better than them. But this just makes things interesting, you know? Kyler Murray, and this is all going off the idea that he would just beat out J.J. McCarthy for the job. Now, J.J. McCarthy, I don't want to say that I think it's impossible. I definitely think that there's a chance that he is going to improve, that he is going to get better. But the leash and the room for him to just struggle is gone. It's non-existent. You've got Justin Jefferson, who is over there. There were so many points where I believed that he was going to be close to just requesting a trade just based off the way shit was going with JJ. So they've got to get some improvement. He has to improve. If he's starting week 1, he doesn't even have until week 2. And that's just the way things have to be, because at this point in Minnesota, you're coaching for your job. The GM's already been fired. You let Sam Darnold go, and you see what happened when he goes into Seattle and immediately wins the fucking Super Bowl. So they've got to right this ship. They've got to get things right, because if they don't, Minnesota could be looking at that Sam Darnold, letting him go could be the type of decision that ended up setting them back at least a good 5 years. So that goes without saying. They've got to get this right. This offseason, this quarterback signing, JJ either has to improve or Kyler has to come in and save somebody. Otherwise, heads are probably going to be rolling. So Bam Adebayo, I might have mispronounced his last name, scored 83 points. And I already talked about this. Shout out to him for doing it. But one thing that I have yet to really touch on the way I probably should have was the backlash and the controversy that this all just generated. Now, the reason why it generated so much controversy was 2 reasons. Number one, and this is the more understandable and logical reason, he set a record for the amount of free throw attempts that you can have in an NBA game for 43. That is ridiculous. It is just it just shows that the way that game was played and the way that he was able to obtain such a high score, they were slowing the game down. They were fouling intentionally, his team, I should say, in order to get the ball back so that they could put it in his hands. He had 79 when the final 2 minutes hit, so he literally just scored those last couple points through free throws and just forcing the ball into his hands. I'm not going to sit there and act like that is just something you should ignore. It says a lot about the way that game was played. Like I said, it wasn't the most ethical, if you really want to go into ethical hoops type of a statement that you can look at, but he did it either way. So at the end of the day, he was able to score those 83 points. Now, the second part of it, and the bigger thing that I want to touch on, is there has been a very, very notable portion of NBA fans. They are all happen to be fans of one specific guy who have a very big issue with Bam breaking Kobe's record. Now, for the record, Wilt has the record for most points, but Kobe scored 81. That was long looked at as that is the most points anybody's going to get in one game. Like, in an actual ethically played game, that's the most you can do, because Kobe, when he scored 81, he did that in a game where each point was needed. They were losing at halftime. Kobe needed to do that. And if he wouldn't have done that, they probably wouldn't have won. I say all that to bring up, I don't think that Bam should be looked differently. I don't think that his game should be frowned upon at all. And not just because that the game was already a blowout, not because they didn't need it. The reason why I have a problem with people trying to shit on Bam's game is because a lot of it is coming back to people who are really just saying that he should have been like, you know what, pull me out of the game. I have heard people that talk about the coach should have pulled him out of the game. You know, he shouldn't have had him in there trying to have that done, especially at a game when it was already a blowout. I disagree, but at the same time, I can understand that. You know, if you're a coach and you're just seeing him, it's a game you really don't need. and you were just trying, he's just literally just calorie points where it's not really going to mean anything. It's not really going to be looked at as a game where it was like needed. I can see you wanting to pull Bam out. He's one of the best players. You don't want him to get injured unnecessarily, even though at that point that probably was not a real concern. My real sense of confusion with this whole controversy about him scoring this many points is there's so many people who think that Bam himself should have went to his coach and said, nah, pull me out of the game. I don't want to do it this way. What the fuck type of mindset is that? Bam, when he went for that game, when he was in that game, I guarantee you midway through, he said to himself, I have a chance to do something really special. I have a chance, if my teammates help me out, if this game is able to just bend in my favor some more ways, I have a chance to put myself in the history book and be remembered forever. And I've heard people say, no one's going to remember Bam like 20 years from now, 50 years from now. He's not going to be remembered in that same pantheon as Wilt and Mike and Kobe and all these other guys. That may be true, but at the end of the day, when you are looking at who scored the most points in a game, you are going to have to always say now, Wilt, Bam, Kobe. And that is the key. I've tried to make this clear to people. If he would have just settled for third place for 79 points, nobody was going to remember him. That's not how he was going. You're not going to bring up the top three. You're going to bring up the top two, because it's like we've acknowledged. Bam doesn't have the same name that a Kobe does. He doesn't have the same name as Wilt. So if you just settle for third place, we're not going to say to ourselves the top three scorers of all time, the top three scoring games. You had Bam at 3, you had Kobe at 2, you had Wilt at 1. Kobe would have been named 2, Wilt would have been 1. There would have been no mention of 3. We don't think of whoever scored the third most points in a game. No. I really can't tell you, and that's the key, and that's the point of what I'm saying. God, we've had guys like Donovan Mitchell score 70. We've had guys like Devin Booker score 70. We don't think about those games. Yeah, they're brought up. Yeah, that's brought up when we're discussing them as players, but we don't think about that when we're discussing the game itself, the history of the NBA. So anybody that's out here trying to say that Bam should have just been satisfied, you're fucking crazy. He put himself in the history books that is going to be remembered for history. And just by the simple fact of the matter, he's in between two names that when you discuss the history of the NBA, you're going to have to mention Wilt Chamberlain. You're going to have to mention Kobe Bryant. So for Bam to put himself in between those two names, that is his way of stemming his name forever into the history books, forever into the history of the game. And whether we use his name 50 years from now to talk about how unethical and how crazy it was that he was able to get away with that, whether we actually discuss him and give him the respect he deserves by just saying, yo, he had the second highest scoring game of all time, we're going to be discussing Bam Adebayo. And that is all that matters. So, fuck all the haters. I love Kobe, but Kobe stands, y'all are going to have to eat crow on this one, because Bam deserves his flowers. All right, everybody. I want to say thank you all for tuning into Kinetic Aesthetic. I am your host, Jerm, and you all been enjoying another weekly edition of Sports Talk. Make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, and do whatever you have to do so that you are notified and up to date on whenever we drop any new content. But aside from that, just make sure you drink more water, make sure you tell your friends and family you love one, and just make sure you continue to be good people. And very soon, before you know it, Kinetic Aesthetic will be right back at you with another episode. But like I said, I'm your boy Jerm, and I'm out.